Hey everyone, did you hear about the bombshell evidence supposedly calling into doubt the official narrative about Charlie Kirk's assassination? Here's the Daily Mail headline: Bullet used to kill Charlie Kirk did not match rifle allegedly used by suspect Tyler Robinson, new court filing claims. I'm Rich Lowry of National Review, and I think everyone who saw that headline initially thought, wow, has a big hole opened up in the case against Tyler Robinson? Of course, Candace Owens was quick to go to X and spike the football. Where are all my neocons who've been overwhelmed by the non-existent evidence against Tyler Robinson? You should all be ashamed of yourselves. Hope the money was worth your soul. Now, she, of course, wasn't the only conspiracy theorist to jump on this. We heard a lot, wow, we told you the evidence was never there against Tyler Robinson, that something didn't smell right about this case. It felt kind of weird. Bibi Netanyahu must have been involved. Now, we talked a lot in these videos about journalistic malpractice from the legacy media. This is an instance of journalistic malpractice from the right of center media in the interest of sheer sensationalism and clicks in a way that is a grotesque disservice to the public. Let's look at this Daily Mail story a little bit more. So here's the lead. The bullet that killed conservative commentator Charlie Kirk may not match the rifle used by suspected killer Tyler Robinson. A bombshell new court filing states. Robinson, 22, is facing capital murder charges and a potential death sentence for Kirk's murder at Utah Valley University on September 10th. But his defense attorneys now argue that the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, quote, was unable to identify the bullet recovered at autopsy to the rifle allegedly tied to Mr. Robinson, end quote. Story goes on. The defense team may now offer the ATF firearm analyst testimony as exculpatory evidence, they said in a motion filed on Friday to push the preliminary hearing back at least 6 months. Fox News reports. Then we read, it also notes that DNA reports filed by the FBI and ATF will take time for the defense team to analyze because reports indicated that several different DNA samples were found on some items of evidence. Wow. So you read that and you think, wow, the bullet doesn't match. There's all sorts of other DNA. Maybe other people were involved, and Tyler Robinson really was a patsy like Candace Owens and so many others say. Then if you think about it for just about 2 minutes, max, some problems emerge with this interpretation. One, right at the top, literally, let's look back at the Daily Mail story. So here's that lead again. The bullet that killed conservative commentator Charlie Kirk may not match the rifle used by suspected killer Tyler Robinson. Then you look at the headline again. Bullet used to kill Charlie Kirk did not match rifle allegedly used by suspect Tyler Robinson. So you got a bit of a mismatch there between the headline and the opening of the story, with the headline stating it in a stronger, more sensationalistic way. Very convenient if you want people to X-post about your story just with the headline showing. It also makes a reference to a bombshell filing. Well, what was that filing? Well, it was a defense filing. What is the defense going to do in a case like this when it seems to be an open and shut capital murder case against their client? They're going to throw anything against the wall they can. And not to make that clear up top is a disservice. The Daily Mail story links to, at one point, a story from the local Utah paper, the Deseret News, and it's interesting to contrast how the two different publications handled this story differently. Here's the Deseret News headline: Tyler Robinson wants preliminary hearing pushed back, citing substantial evidence to review. Now that headline doesn't take your breath away. That headline was not posted hundreds and thousands of times. Why not? Because it was responsible and truthful. So how does the Deseret News article play this defense claim about the bullet? It's the next to last paragraph in the story. Now you can say that's bearing the lead of a bombshell report, but actually it's appropriately playing the lead of a claim in a defense filing that at the end of the day is not that significant. That is why you don't make it the headline. You certainly don't sensationalize the headline, and you have this claim further down the story. Now, why is this claim not particularly important? Because it seems almost certain that what's going on here, and look, I'm going to simplify, I'm a layman, is you attempt to match a bullet at a crime scene to the gun that fired it, obviously. Every gun has grooves in the barrel. You shoot the bullet down the barrel, the bullet's scratched by those grooves, and you can match the two up. Now, every kind of gun tends to have the same kind of markings, but every particular gun has microscopic differences. So you'll see these microscopic scratches in the bullet, and you match them to those very small grooves in the barrel of the gun, and boom, you've established that the bullet belongs to the specific gun. Now, if it so happens that that can't be done here, there's a very easy explanation, which is that the bullet has fragmented or become malformed in some way, making it difficult or impossible to make this kind of match. And you know who played the story exactly the right way? Our friends at Fox News. So the Fox News headline, straightforward, completely accurate. Experts debunk Tyler Robinson's ballistic claim. Open quote, unable to identify is not the same as ruled out, close quote. Then the story goes on to quote, an expert, it's not uncommon for a round that went through a human body, especially if it traveled through tissue, to say conclusively that's tied to a specific firearm, because by nature, the projectile is supposed to transfer all of its kinetic energy, and it often disintegrates into fragments and whatnot. The fact that it went through several bone structures, there's going to be very little left. Then a former FBI agent is quoted saying, unable to identify is not the same as ruled out. That's a finding of inconclusiveness, not exoneration. So there's an important distinction there, right? Just because it can't be established that the bullet came from the rifle doesn't mean it's been established that the bullet didn't come from the rifle, or it's been ruled out that it came from that rifle. It's just that the state of the bullet makes it impossible to nail down this piece of evidence. Fox News story again. Two law enforcement sources familiar with the investigation later told Fox News that the reason the ATF was unable to match the bullet to the rifle is because when the bullet impacted Kirk's body, it hit bone and broke on impact. The forensic pathologist pulled fragments out of Kirk's body, not an intact bullet. The sources said it is impossible to do ballistics analysis on a bullet fragment. My understanding from talking to a law enforcement source is that this is not unusual. It might be about 50-50 whether you're going to be able to identify a bullet in a case like this and track it to a specific rifle. We're talking about very sensitive markings on the bullet. But there's plenty of other evidence in the case. Fox News story one last time. The testing did positively confirm that the spent shell casing found at the scene matched the suspected murder weapon. That's a pretty significant piece of evidence for the prosecution, the former FBI agent quoted in the story says, and pretty damning for the defense. There's lots of other evidence as well. Robinson's DNA is on a towel that's wrapped around the rifle that he leaves in the woods after he jumps off the roof of a building at Utah Valley University. His DNA apparently is on a shell casing on the roof. We have these incriminating texts with his roommate and boyfriend in real time. He confesses to his parents. His father turns him in. The timeline adds up, just on and on and on. And this is just what we know about so far publicly. And yet we have elements of the right hoping he's exculpated, right? This ideological enemy of Charlie Kirk, who thought Charlie was a hater, who was very much into the trans cause, shot dead Charlie Kirk, and you have people on the right hoping he gets off. You have Joe Kent saying he's willing to testify in his trial in a way that might help the defense. At the end of the day, there's really nothing new here. There's no revelation suggesting that Tyler Robinson might really be innocent. And it's not new that parts of the right are absolutely crazed on this question and are, in effect, throwing in with the defense of a man who assassinated a MAGA hero. I'm Rich Lowry, over and out.